Welcome back on the AM show and Sweetie Abochi Anope Onoano Ate show Nano Ntiebe Twaswe Free Ha. You know, it's Ghana month and we're free to speak our local languages evermore. Now, it's not as though we couldn't before, but especially in this month. Yeah, but I potokasana. Yeah, ketchi. Emodin, ECP, Esita. What you say? Aha, Midin Ede Benjamin Akakbo. Medasi Bivre said. Munina mo hweme just muni yeshia wa ha ye betwetwen kombo yedamase bebre. Anyway, like we always do, I'll let you know of that entity helping us bring you the news review every weekday morning on the AM show. It's called Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they'll be the end to your chronic disease. Here's why. For those of you who have prostate issues, or maybe you've never checked out anything to do with your prostate, so you don't know what's going on, they are offering you, if you're a man, check your prostate. Come and check your prostate for free. If you're a woman, come and check out your fertility. Nowadays, apart from fibroids, which supposedly every woman has, it may just not develop to the point where you require a medical solution or something of the sort. Many people are coming up with so many of these fertility issues. Why wait till something strikes you down? Why don't you get yourself checked? So if you're a woman, they're offering you fertility screening as well for free, gratis. So for both sexes, just reach out to Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic at any of their branches. In Accra, they are at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronom Abwehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takra DNRG State, Tema, Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Kyei-Mensah. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. I have the pleasure now of introducing to you. He is Executive Director for the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, and Mensah Thompson is his name. He joins me for a conversation during the news review. Mensah, thanks for coming.
Benny, thanks for having me.
Should I tell them? Should I tell them?
No, it's fine.
Mommy can't show them.
No.
But you've been bashing people, so let me tell them what happened. It's good to see you. It's been forever.
Yes. I haven't seen you in a while.
Anyway.
Yes, but I've been monitoring the show, I think. You and
Okay.
Fiti.
Okay.
You're handling the show very well. Thank you.
Life is good, and I see you're looking good in your smock and...
Yes, it's Ghana month, so...
Yeah, but I'm saying life is good, and I was it, and I don't. I know, I'm being mischievous this morning. I'm in a mischievous mood. That's what happens when I'm tired in the morning. Anyway, so we have a stack of newspapers here, but I have a bit of a ritual that I pursue. When people come, especially in studio, I give them a minute or two to talk about something pertinent that is burning on their heart. So over to you. If there's any such issue. For me, for example, the All Africa Games and the fact that Doomso, even there too, Doomso hit and Charlie, the lights were off. Some categories, disciplines couldn't for a while. Can you imagine that? All Africa Games, yeah, Tongana. Wait, light off. I couldn't for the life of me. Oh, Kokase Doomso says, yeah, one bokiti. Hey, but what is that? Anyway, so that's one thing on my mind. I don't know about you, but...
Yeah, I think the All-African Game...
Briefly on that.
...has revealed some very structural weaknesses in our system. It's not just Doomso that is really embarrassing us. Yesterday, I saw a race trailing behind time because of ambulance. The cycling, those who were doing the cycling, and they had to wait for an ambulance because the race couldn't start if there's no ambulance at the venue, and they had to spend a lot of time, and I saw the pictures and they were quite embarrassing, but I think these are things that we should take a bit more seriously, especially in these times where we have a lot of foreigners in the country. We have people coming from all walks of life, athletes. I think we can do better, and I hope that the few days left for the games, the government, together with the local organizing committee, would step up their game and make sure that resources are available. I think some of the things that are happening are inexcusable, like footwear, like just basic equipment that are needed for this, which you think that a country hosting such an event will prepare for it.
And this is a country that is saying it has spent over $190 million.
Exactly.
I mean, we spent $16 million to put out the entire Cape Coast Stadium in 2016. $16 million. They say to renovate and whatever, the
games
Legon, no, University of Ghana Stadium and everything. It cost $34 million.
Yes, and even
more than twice what we spent. And we are not talking cedis, so that you say it is appreciation or depreciation of this currency versus that. We're still talking dollars.
And even the Games Village, how much they said they spent on the Games Village, about $60 million on the Games Village, where you did not put up a new structure. The buildings are already there. All you had to do is to just refurbish the building, provide some materials, and we're being quoted huge sums of money. And I think some of these spectacles are avoidable, especially in these critical times where, our economy is in a downward spiral. There are a lot of issues affecting the ordinary Ghanaian. And these things just, angers people. It makes people feel that, people just lose faith in our democracy, and I think it's not good for us.
But let's look at the other side. When you say this, I mean, you have been highly critical of this administration. Let's look at the other side. The former administration also had its problems with Doomso. My peeve is that we shouldn't continue suffering from a lack of thinking. If someone sacrificed, and we ousted Mahama partly because of Doomso, right? So if we had suffered, yes, a problem he didn't necessarily create, from Rawlings to subsidizing electricity to cutting off subsidies to Kufuor, we faced a bit under Rawlings. Kufuor, it became a little bit more observable. Then Atta Mills Mahama, chaos. Yeah. We dealt with the situation, right? We signed the agreements, whatever it may be. We signed the agreements, we had the power deals, and this administration came and said excess power all through, even at a point when from around 2021, 2022, we did not have any excess power, but they kept on with the rhetoric. And now here we are again. Yeah. In fact, I listened to, I've forgotten the MP's name. He's from the Northern Belt. He said that whichever administration comes, because of where we are now, that administration will suffer a power crisis because we failed to think.
Yes, but by 2025, and these things have been predicted by all of us, because one, you remember the cause of the power crisis in 2015. It has not changed. There were two key issues. We had capacity issue, and then we had financial issues.
Yeah.
So the installed capacity, how much capacity we are able to have, and then financial, how much money we are able to pay for the gas that we receive to power these plants, to give us electricity. So what the previous administration did was to ensure that we have adequate capacity. So the current challenges we are having now is not lack of capacity. Especially when government itself has told us that we have more capacity than we need.
Well, we don't have excess capacity.
We don't have extra
but we
capacity,
have enough to take care of our
capacity.
Right.
We have adequate capacity.
Right.
So now what is the problem is that the previous administration, in trying to resolve the Doomso, created, got financial institutions, banks to finance these power plants and to pay these companies and also to sort out the legacy debts in the energy sector. They introduced a tax called ESLA. What ESLA was supposed to do was to...
I don't want us to get too technical.
No, I don't want to get... No,
I want us to get into...
Yes, I just want to just give a background because it's the foundation of the power crisis that we...
It's a horse we've flogged many times on the show. That's why I don't want us to
go... Yes, that ESLA, you collateralize ESLA, and so now the process of ESLA are now going into a service of debt and also the finance of your own consumption instead of paying the power producers, the IPPs, and all these people. Yeah. So definitely you are going to come back.
And ECG has been in a box in itself, trying to raise money and all that. But for me, I just think it's a big disgrace, especially what happened. You have all Africa Games. Just say, Ghana. Ghana na Doomso. I mean, what impression are you creating in the minds of people? Could we not find a way of ensuring that even in the catchment areas, we would project so that there would be no power outages, so people would not go thinking of Ghana as that country where the lights go off,
and that's why we've been
I don't know. I don't know what thinking goes into.
And that's why we're asking for a load shedding timetable, because if the ECG is being honest and not trying to cover up that we are in doom. Because you are shedding power. You are shedding up to.
Well, that one, a lot of people have called for it. We'll see how it goes as and when they feel.
You are shedding up to 500 megawatts of power during peak hours. So just provide a timetable. The timetable will allow you to now do the exclusion. It's okay. This game is taking.
But you don't get the point, do you? Or maybe you get it, but you're not looking at. If you come up with a timetable, it means there's doom. So. People are trying to avoid a certain technicality.
But you cannot. It will expose you. I mean,
but have you spoken to any member of this administration? Have you seen any of them admit that there's doom? So
we don't need them to admit. Where I live, my power goes off sometimes for 4-5 hours. Sometimes
yours is good. Where my mother lives, it can go off for almost 12, 15 hours.
So the reality is that we're in doom. So, and we don't need any official to come and tell us that we are in doom. So
let's get into the papers now. I have the Daily Graphic, the New Finder, the Daily Guide, and the Custodian newspaper. So the Daily Graphic newspaper: electoral system needs reforms. Samyan Kroba will go very quickly. 22% Ghanaian adults physically inactive. This one, me no like hear this. I don't like hearing something like this, but it also points to the situation. A lot of our population is getting obese. People are not physically active. People are doing sedentary jobs. You are sitting throughout, no walking and the rest. At home, sit, no exercise. Recipe for disaster. We'll get into that. Government builds new drains against rainy season. Here we are again, when the rainy season is coming. And then before you see, it rained somewhere last week or over the weekend for a few, before you realize we're talking of flooding. I was shocked. 13th African Games open in Accra. Oh, but let me say this. The 13th African Games opener, I didn't watch it, but some people who did said it was pretty good. So if at least that went well, we salute them. That is the opening ceremony. MTN puts up 90 million Ghana cedi maternity and NICU blocks in Keta. That's neonatal ICU blocks. So let me start from the start. A former chairperson of the Convention People's Party, Samia Yaba Nkrumah, says it is time to reform the nation's electoral system to allow marginalized groups such as women and the smaller parties to have more political voice. That, she said, could be done through the adoption of the quota system or the proportional representation system. If you know of politics, you know about these systems. It's not always first past the post. Now, the times have come, she says, for us to consider these two different electoral systems, which were not possible in 1992 when we returned to constitutional rule. Ms. Nkrumah, a former CPP member of parliament for Jomore in the Western region, was responding to a question in an interview on Graphic TV show, a channel on YouTube dubbed Your Ghana, My Ghana. And so that's the thrust of it there. She says we should have more representation of smaller parties. To some extent, I agree with her, because this dominance of NDC, MPP holding us by the neck, I don't know whether it's helping, because it's just one circus to another circus. But that's the story there. Then there's page 13. I'll do those two stories and come to you for your responses. A World Health Organization assessment of physical activity in the country has shown that 22% of adults aged 18 and above are not physically active. That is more than 1 in 5. More than 1 in every 5 you count. It also indicated that 81% of adolescents are also physically inactive. So based on the fact that physical inactivity was one of the main risk factors for non-communicable diseases, including cancer, cardiovascular disease, chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes, the WHO has called on the country to modify its road infrastructure to include walking and cycling infrastructure, like you would find in Rwanda. In Kigali, there are clear lanes where bicycles can be, where pedestrians can have that. In Ghana, the road Nankasana Sef, they form to talk of create any. And that is that. So the impact of the recommendation, physical activity among the general population, is to help reduce the alarming rate of NCDs, non-communicable diseases, prevalence, morbidity, and mortality in the country. And I am not surprised by this, because this is also why, respectfully, when COVID-19 hit, we saw a lot of these comorbidity issues and people succumbing to the disease because of a lack of physical exercise, physical activity. And the final one, government builds new drains against rainy season. Housing Minister discloses the government is working on some flood adaptation projects in flood-prone areas in Accra to mitigate the impact of this year's rainfall. The projects include the construction of storm drains at Agbugloshi, Akwetiman, a section of Nima, Kaswa Iron City, and Weja Old Barrier. we did this country inside. I'm waiting when the rains hit. Feely, we'll see. Ya Gani. Over to you. Quick reactions, and then we'll get into your papers. Yes. Any quick reactions? So electoral system needs reforms. Yes. 22% of Ghanaians physically inactive. Building new drains against the rainy season.
Well, let me comment on the electoral reforms. Yes, indeed. I think our country is ripe for electoral reforms. We've been practicing this 1992 constitutional democracy for some time, and so it's time for some specific amendments, to shape, our electoral process. But I would tend to disagree with any introduction of a quota system. We've been grappling with affirmative action bill for some time, and we feel that the affirmative action bill will handle some of these things for us. If any reform must be done, it must be focused on inclusivity and in electoral coverage to ensure that we achieve the principle of universal adult suffrage, which I think over time, every time there's elections, there's this whole quagmire of who is eligible, who is ineligible, who has to be registered, who is a Ghanaian, who is not a non-Ghanaian. I think that we can put all these issues to bed. The issue about chaotic voter registration exercises could also be put to bed if the EC adopts a more continuous approach to voter registration, where any citizen that reaches the age of 18 can just walk to any electoral commission office and register for their voter's ID without necessarily having to wait for a special voter registration exercise that normally tends to be more chaotic. Again, if the policy introduction that must guide some of these reforms should be our national identification system. We've been playing games with this whole Ghana card, passport, and it's been chaotic. I want to take inspiration from what Nigeria is doing. Nigeria have introduced something called the National Identification Number, which is more like the Social Security number of the United States of America. So every citizen, right from birth, you are issued an NIN, a National Identification Number. It is this number that will be used for anything, all documentations or anything you have to register in this country, you have to use your NIN. Now, if that system works perfectly, what you will do is that you succeed in eliminating, foreigners and non-citizens and people who are ineligible. And so once somebody goes to the voting center or so a registration center, the person didn't have to prove. By providing just a national identification number, they will be able to be verified whether they are a citizen or they are non-citizen. And I think that our Ghana card system do not solve that problem for us. Right. And so we need to rework around it. And we need to look at the Ghana card system also very well. Okay. The Ghana card we've seen it's not a national ID card. It's a regional document. It's a travel certificate. We have decided to turn it into a national ID, and the systems do not support it because.
Is the Ghana card bad?
It's not bad, but I'm saying.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that the Ghana card is not a national ID. The Ghana card is an ECOWAS travel certificate. It was promulgated.
It's a form of identification. It's a form of identification nationally. We use it. It's accepted by the banks. No, it's accepted by every other entity. So what's the issue with it?
So it's a travel certificate. So if you want me to run through the history, when the
I don't want the history. We don't have time for the history. I'm asking for what it is used for now. What is it used for?
So it's not about what it's used for. The Ghana card was promulgated by ECOWAS to solve a problem.
Not all ECOWAS countries have it. Last year I was in Togo, in Lomé. They are now trying to get a system. We have it in place.
Because the ECOWAS gave ECOWAS countries up to 2017 to introduce the Ghana. So if some countries haven't introduced it, that's not the point. The point is that ECOWAS said the country should introduce it as a travel certificate within the ECOWAS sub-region so that it can make movement between countries within the sub-region free. We decided to to make it a national ID.
But what is wrong? What is wrong if you have that and you incorporate other things instead of having maybe one national ID and having the ECOWAS ID? You fuse them together. That is why we've been told that that chip on they are going to have some systems where you can use it for multiple purposes. What is wrong with that?
Let me tell you the problem.
What is the
problem?
problem?
Is that with travel certificates, the data collected is for a different purpose. The data
But you can have all of that consolidated on one card.
The data collected with a travel certificate is shared by border security in the sub-region. It is used specifically. So when you're collecting data, the purpose of the card will tell you what data you collect. And so for ease of travel, those data collected are going to be shared with, the other regional.
I'm still not getting your point. Hit the nail on the head. Like, go directly to it. So what is the issue?
My point is that ECOWAS introduced a card called an ECOWAS biometric travel certificate.
Right.
Which is an ECOWAS card.
Right.
The name of the card we are using is not Ghana card. It's an ECOWAS.
But it's also there, isn't it?
It's not Ghana. Have you seen your card? It is called.
We call it the ECOWAS
card.
Whatever.
ECOWAS card.
Here it is. You say it is not.
Yes.
I don't want to, for the sake of people not seeing my details. It says here, ECOWAS identity card. And it goes in other languages.
Is this a Ghana
Republic of Ghana.
Is
it the nomenclature that is your problem?
It's not the nomenclature. The issue is that I have spoken to immigration experts. In fact, over the weekend, I met even the head of ECOWAS.
I think this issue, we may have more time to talk about it, because I honestly don't get the thrust of what you're saying.
The point, so if you allow me to make my point, you understand?
No, we don't have that much time. So we are practically running out of time.
Just give me a minute, let me wrap up on this.
30 seconds.
So all I'm saying is that the Ghana card system do not solve the national identification system that we have because of the purpose for which it was promulgated.
Okay.
And so if we can find a way by having the social security system or the national identification number, not necessarily a card, but a number assigned to each citizen that can be used, so that without necessarily having to have multiple IDs and all that, so we can use that. The Ghana card in this state do not solve the problems.
Okay, all right, thank you. Point made. Pope Francis has been criticized for Ukraine's white flag remarks, basically suggesting that Ukraine could take the lead in ending the crisis by hoisting the white flag. But he's been heavily criticized for that. It's his opinion. U.S. airlifts embassy staff from Haiti as gang violence escalates, and Israel's president pleads for peace at Amsterdam. Let's quickly get into some other stories. So, because of time, what I'm going to ask you to do is maybe do two stories per paper, or one, if need be, the major issue. I see the banner headline there in Republic Press to be LGBTQ bill haunts government. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it will haunt government because of the government's inability to set its position on this matter.
Has the president not made his position clear? The person we've not heard from is Dr. Baumia. But the president, whether he's vacillated or not, whether it is bound to happen like that first interview, he's gone on in the interactions with the Anglican Church, in interacting with other groupings. He's gone on to say that, listen, I'll go where the people want to go. Isn't that not clear enough?
But that's not a position. What is your position on LGBTQ? I mean, you have to make it. You see, my position is very clear, simple. As a Ghanaian and a traditional person, I do not support the activities of LGBTQ. But as a human rights activist, I'm also in tune with the rights of people who practice it. And so then I've always insisted on how do we balance the issue of cultural protections and the issue of social protections? And so, and that's what I've said, that, and that's the basis for my criticism for the current bill, when I say that the current bill do not address the key concerns or the core of the problem of LGBTQ, because it is more centered on punitive actions, and in these things, if you listen to doctors, psychologists, most of them have attributed the practice of some of these things into psychological issues and what have you. And so the idea should be reformation, rehabilitation. How do we get people out of some of these quagmires? What are some of the social factors that drag some of the people into some of these activities?
You make it sound like a simple psychological situation that can be dealt with. You do realize that a lot of those in that community will also tell you we're perfectly fine. There's
Yes.
no problem with us. How do you
So-
purportedly, and I'm not saying necessarily that means there's something wrong with them, but how do you solve a problem when the person you deem to be sick doesn't think he or she is sick?
So, I mean, when a doctor is doing diagnosis, he does a diagnosis based on a certain level of symptoms that they have. In our tradition, as Ghanaians, and our culture, we believe that people involved in those things may have some challenges. That is how we think as Ghanaians.
But you also know, and while I am very firm, I've made my position very clear on this, on the moral standpoint, and again on the human rights standpoint. But you do know that recently, I think it was Professor something, I've forgotten her name. I don't know whether it was, I'm being careful so I don't mention the wrong name. Making mention of the fact that, in certain cultures, she mentions two groups. I don't want to mention the groups in order not to. And there was a hard pushback that, no, this is not part of our culture or whatever. But the Kojo Besiers and the others have always been mixed with us. How do you respond to that? How do you react to it?
So that's why I'm saying that the people, the focus of the country should be help. How do we help these people? Right. Not just help them, how do we prevent people? Because there are few people who are naturally born into these things, but a huge chunk of people also are pushed into it through social cultural conditions.
Okay, again, something else we can...
How do we help these people? How do we prevent young children?
You think the bill is what will help them?
No, the bill does not address the challenge. The current bill is so focused on punitive sanctions and how to punish people.
So you are for the bill, but you are against how the bill has been
and so we believe that the focus of the bill should be more reformatory, more rehabilitatory, getting people how to be more give help to people, the issue of non-custodial sentence come into play here. I mean, you cannot...
Okay, so I think we're on the same page on that. We both are in tune with what Afenyo Markin was saying. Rather than incarcerate them 3 years, 5 years, how about other mechanisms to ensure that they are...
There are evidence that our prison systems, based on
our prisons are choked,
support the activities of LGBTQ. So how do you then incarcerate somebody who suspected to LGBTQ, go and put them in conditions that will facilitate even the activities?
Let's check out headlines from the Ghanaian publisher. I'll do one and then we can go. What does the Ghanaian publisher say? Just the headlines. Or the Ghanaian Times and the Ghanaian publisher.
My husband didn't die of food poisoning, John Kume's wife revealed.
Yes. John Kume's wife.
Yes, and I think that it is too soon for the wife to be speaking. I mean...
Why? What do you know that she doesn't?
No, I think that, of course, the husband didn't die, she's mourning. She should leave some of these things for other people to address. I mean, and she should focus on.
She's the wife. Who else should address that?
No, I mean, of course, the husband is a politician. I mean, we've seen people who were in the political, on the political streets with the husband come out to publicly claim that the husband was poisoned. It's not somebody alleging. It's people who are...
You don't have a toxicology report. You don't have an autopsy report. Based on what are you saying?
Exactly. So with that autopsy report, the wife also cannot say he wasn't poisoned.
Okay, fair point.
So that's why I'm saying that the wife shouldn't be speaking at this point. She should allow an autopsy report to come out. I think when it comes out, we'll all see.
Okay.
I mean, I think right now we shouldn't be too focused on what killed or what did not kill him. I think that we should focus on eulogizing him. John was a very affable person. I knew him personally. As a young person, how he rose through the ranks to become, Deputy Minister for Finance. He served his country. It's unfortunate that he has to go this early, and so we should focus on eulogizing him. He served his country at least till.
So we should focus on eulogizing
people.
Thank you.
Even when there were clear signs that he wasn't well, they said he came just to participate in the 6 March celebrations.
Okay. He's done his bit. He's paid his dues. We'll salute him for that.
Focus on
we'll wrap with the New Finder newspaper. Oponkroma tasks Hydro Authority to speed up drainage works. Spectacular opening ceremony, colorful display of rich cultural heritage, of course. That's for the All Africa Games. Malta president commends positive impact of NLA's operations. And this interesting one I'll wrap with. Daily Guide. MPs okay, $300 million loan. This led to a lot of wrangling in Parliament on the back of tax waivers, way more than this sum of $300 million. But at some point, the minority capitulated based on some words from the finance minister, Dr. Amin Adam. Mensah, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us for breakfast this morning. That is Mensah Thompson, Executive Director, Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability. I want to say a big thank you to Sewa Abankwa of Saraban Clothing for my outfit this morning. She's located at Club 10 in Kanda. And if you'd like something as lovely as what you see me in, you can reach out to her on 0244 128591. 0244 128591. But before we sign off, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment. They're offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takradianaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiamanzama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. My producer has sent me this, and I'm going to put it out. Happy 34th birthday to Belinda Ivy Richter and Beryl Ernestina Richter of Osu. One of them has been with us at some point. The twins, may this chapter usher you both into uncommon favor with love from your family and from all of us, Belinda and Beryl Richter. Have a wonderful birthday. On that note, let's segue into sports up next.